Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the USFL DFS live stream video for week number 5. So what I'll be doing in this video for today overall, whether you're watching it today or in future days, this is being recorded on Friday. Obviously, the slate starts tomorrow at Saturday, probably pretty early. Once again, I haven't checked out the times personally myself, but I'll be going through a recap of week 4, kind of talking about who played what in terms of snaps, in terms of pass attempts, in terms of percentage of carries, target share, all that good stuff. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something from that. Just kind of recapping week 4. Then we'll go over to my sheet for week 5. Talk about whether I play guys in GPPs, cash game, GPP pay down options, stuff like that. And then go over DraftKings, kind of talk about certain guys I'll be overweight or underweight to the field on. Just with my guesstimated ownership at this point in time, ownership is a little bit harder to get when it comes to USFL just in general, but that is kind of the nature of the beast with what we are playing. So going to just start off with the recap from week number 4. Starting with the Birmingham Stallions, Alex Magoo played 100% of the snaps, had 100% of the pass attempts, 29 in total. One passing touchdown, 2 interceptions, so not his greatest game of the season. I did run the ball 10 times, 33% of the carry share, and had 1 rushing touchdown. So still a very viable option going forward. Then from the actual running backs, CJ Marable had 61% of snaps, 33% of the carries. He had 10 carries in total. He did not have a touchdown. That is a typo there. So I'm going to get rid of that real quick. He had 10% target share with 3 targets out of the backfield. And then Zaquandre Wright, 37% of snaps, 33% of carries. He had 10 carries as well. And then he had a 7% target share with 2 targets out of the backfield. So pretty split at that running back position at this point in time. Both could be considered like GPP options, but not really going out of my way specifically for either one at this point in time. And Davion Davis maintained kind of that lead receiver role, 71% of snaps, a 34% target share with 10 targets and 1 receiving touchdown. Austin Watkins played 81% of snaps. He had a 17% target share with 5 targets in total. Myron Mitchell was inactive for week number 4. Him and Michael Darius were the 2 inactive wide receivers this week. And then Deion Kane played 75% of snaps. He had a 7% target share with 2 total targets. He did have another kick return touchdown, though. So that's 2 weeks in a row for him. And then we had Adrian Hardy playing 44% of snaps, a 7% target share with 2 total targets. And then Josh Johnson, who was recently signed, was inactive for week number 3. Saw 10% of snaps in week 4 with 1 target for a 3% target share. Jay Sternberger maintains his lead role as kind of that lead tight end. 98% of snaps, a 14% target share with 4 total targets. Not his greatest game that we've seen out of him so far this season. Thaddeus Moss played 20% of snaps, but did not have a target. And then LaMichael Petaway did not play a single snap or draw a single target in week number 4. Moving down to the Houston Gamblers, Kennedy Bahar played 62% of snaps. He had 87.5% of the pass attempts, 21 in total, 2 touchdowns, 0 interception, 5% of carries. He had 2 in total. So kind of the biggest news for him is he did end up getting injured in this game. Terry Wilson had to come in and take over for him. Sounds like Bahar is going to be out for week number 5, dealing with that injury, although supposedly was listed as probable play, but already moved to the inactive list. So Terry Wilson will likely get the start in week number 5. Wilson played 38% of snaps in week 4, 12.5% of pass attempts, only 3 in total, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but he did have 9 carries for a 24% of carry share in week number 4. For week 4, we saw TJ Pledger inactive. He was dealing with a little bit of an injury. Shamari Jones, the running back that they recently signed, 35% of snaps, 35% of carries. He had 13 in total, 9% target share with 2 total targets. And then Mark Thompson was kind of still their lead back. Jones's carries mainly came when the game was out of hand. Mark Thompson played 57% of snaps, 35% of carries with 13 in total, 3 rushing touchdowns, and 1 target out of the backfield for a 4% target share. Excuse me. And we saw a little bit of variance in the wide receiver room this week. Justin Hall, only 47% of snaps, but a 22% target share with 5 total targets. Anthony Retief Williams played 68% of snaps, a 17% target share. He had 4 targets and 1 receiving touchdown. And then Chike Kism played 55% of snaps, 13% target share with 3 targets, 1 receiving touchdown. Dantes Alexander played 25% of snaps, but did not receive a single target. And then Taylor Redding, 47% of snaps, a 13% target share with 3 targets in total. Tyler Palka was inactive again for week number 4. Isaiah Zuber was active for the first time in week 4. However, did not play a single snap on offense. He actually played cornerback in this game, which was a little bit interesting since, he was their top wide receiver last year, but a different coaching staff and everything else like that too. So we'll see what his role looks like going forward. Then we move down to the tight ends. Pretty much all of them played about 50% of snaps. Peterson played 50%, 22% target share with 5 targets. Clint Sig, 53% of snaps, but did not have a single target. And Brandon Barnes, 52% of snaps without a target as well. Move down to the Memphis Showboats. Cole Kelly had 100% of snaps, 100% of pass attempts. He had 26 in total, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on the passing front, 6 carries for a 24% carry share. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. Not really something you expect from him. He's that bigger, taller, slower guy, like 6'7", 260. So we're not expecting too much rushing wise from him, but the 2 touchdowns were nice last week. Alex Collins was placed on IR in week number 4. So don't expect him back for a little while. Kareth White took over the lion's share with 65% of snaps, 60% of carries. I believe it was 10 carries in total. I do have 3 listed there, though, but it should be 10, I believe. And then 27% target share with 7 targets in total. Jawan Washington, the other running back, 35% of snaps, 12% of carries, 3 in total. And then we did see 1 target out of the backfield for him for a 4% target share. When we get down to the wide receiver position, they're kind of rotating guys for the most part once again. Derek Dillon's still the lead guy at 90% of snaps, 31% target share with 8 targets. So he's probably going to be somebody to target moving forward. Ryan McDaniel had a really kind of down week, 55% of snaps, 1 target for a 4% target share. Vinny Papali at 53% of snaps, a 15% target share of 4 targets in total. Probably going to be involved once again this week. DJ Myers was inactive for week number 4. Osiris Mitchell, 45% of snaps, but only 1 target for a 4% target share. Kind of unfortunate that we haven't seen too much out of him this year. John Mitchell, that tight end wide receiver hybrid kind of guy, 33% of snaps, 8% target share with 2 total targets. He did have 1 carry in week 4 as well for a 4% carry share. Daniel Helm was the main tight end, 84% of snaps, 2 targets for an 8% target share. And then we also saw J.J. Wilson play 41% of snaps, but did not draw a target for the first time all season. Moving down to the Michigan Panthers, we had Carson Strong and Josh Love kind of split it up this week. Josh Love, 62% of snaps, 56% of pass attempts, 15 in total, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also had 4 carries on the ground for a 13% carry share. Carson Strong, 38% of snaps, 44% of pass attempts. He had 12 in total, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He did not run the ball a single time, which is something that you wouldn't expect from Carson Strong anyways if you go back to his college days. Reggie Corbin played 49% of snaps. Stevie Scott played 44, so pretty split there once again. 14 carries for Reggie Corbin for 45% of carry share. 12 for Stevie Scott, 39% of carry share there. 15% target share with 4 targets for Reggie Corbin, and then 1 target for a 4% target share for Stevie Scott. Both these guys are going to remain GPP options and both, pretty involved in this offense overall. Joe Walker still the main guy at wide receiver here, 98% of snaps, 38% target share, 10 targets in total. He had 1 receiving touchdown, so very involved once again. He's going to be a pretty solid play more weeks than not. Ishmael Hyman, 80% of snaps, 15% target share with 4 total targets. Trey Quinn, 82% of snaps, but only 2 targets with an 8% target share in general. So mainly seeing those 3 guys for really wide receiver position for them. Marcus Sims was inactive for week 4. Sounds like he'll be inactive for week 5 as well, since he has a doubtful tag. AJ Richardson played 15% of snaps, 0% target share, but he did have 1 carry on the ground. Most notably on the depth chart this week, he is listed as their 3rd string running back instead of a wide receiver. So we'll see how that plays out overall. Then we had Wap Filer. Technically, he was active last week, but didn't draw a single snap. Sounds like he's going to be inactive for week number 5. Cole Hinkatini was inactive for week 4. Marcus Bowe played 85% of snaps, but only a 12% target share with 3 targets. Josh Babbitt's 25% of snaps, did draw his first 2 targets of the season for an 8% target share. And then Kyle Markaway was active for the first time all year, 18% of snaps, but did not receive a single target. So Michigan's pretty straightforward at this point in time, probably not playing the quarterback position. The running backs are both going to be in play. Joe Walker's in play, Trey Quinn's in play, but that's probably about it at this point in time. Moving down to the New Jersey Generals, DeAndre Johnson played 100% of snaps, had 100% of pass attempts once again, but only 14 total pass attempts, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions. Only 5 carries on the ground for a 23% carry share. Then we saw Darius Victor get 61% of snaps, 41% of carries with 9 in total. He had 1 target out of the backfield for an 8% target share. Kingston Davis was inactive again for week number 4. Trey Williams, 39% of snaps, 36% of carries. He had 8 in total. He had 1 long rushing touchdown as well, and then an 8% target share with only 1 target out of the backfield. At the wide receiver position, Cam Eccles-Looper played 44% of snaps. He had a 23% target share. He had 3 targets in total and 1 receiving touchdown. I do believe he got a little bit banged up in this game. Haven't really seen anything saying that he'll be out this week, though. Jamon Moore was inactive for week number 4 after playing a pretty big role in recent weeks. Alonzo Moore, 83% of snaps, a 23% target share, only 3 targets, though. And then Marcus Green played 24% of snaps, did not receive a single target or a carry. He's kind of been involved in, jet sweep, run game, stuff like that, but wasn't really involved in week number 4. And then Randy Satterfield made his return, 100% of snaps, had a 15% target share with 2 targets in total. Warren Newman was inactive again, as well as Arthur Jackson. And then Brandon Bowman played 100% of snaps, 2 targets for a 15% target share. Woody Branham played 0 snaps, had 0 targets. And then Wes Saxton, 46% of snaps, had 1 target for an 8% target share. So mainly looking at New Jersey, probably only attacking Johnson in the running game. If you want to take a shot on one of the wide receivers, you can do that, but a GPP option at this point in time. So not too much else we can really say there at this point. For the New Orleans Breakers, McLeod Bethel Thompson had 100% of snaps, 100% of pass attempts. Once again, 37 total pass attempts, 0 touchdowns though, but he did have 1 interception, and then he had 2 carries for a 7% carry share. Anthony Jones had 3% of snaps, 3% of carries, 3% of targets. He had 1 target and 1 carry in this game. So the times that he wasn't in the game, he at least got the ball, but not a major role for this team overall. Wes Hills is clearly above him. He had 96% of snaps, 90% of the carries with 26 in total, 2 rushing touchdowns. So he's had 8 total touchdowns in the past 3 weeks, 22% target share with 8 targets too. So very involved. Going to be a guy that's going to be a strong play once again. Johnny Dixon missed week 4. We'll have to see if we get an update on him as the week moves along. I haven't seen anything in terms of the breakers at this point in time, but Jonathan Adams, 99% of snaps, 11% target share with 4 total targets. Thought maybe he'd be the main beneficiary, but really not so much, honestly. Lee Morris, 41% of snaps, a 19% target share with 7 total targets. D. Henderson had another strong game with 92% of snaps, 19% targets, 7 in total. And then Eli Stove, 25% of snaps, 3% target share with only 1 target. And then once again, we saw C.J. Rock play 96% of snaps, 24% target share with 9 targets. So he's probably the main beneficiary of Johnny Dixon being out last week. Then we had Jared Scott, 47% of snaps, no targets once again. And then EJ Bibbs was active, I believe, for the first time all year, 0% of snaps, 0% target share as well. Then we move down to the Pittsburgh Maulers. Troy Williams played 100% of snaps. He had 100% of the pass attempts, had 33 pass attempts in this game too. So a little bit more pass heavy this week than they've been in recent weeks. Could open up some possibilities for him and some of these wide receivers. 47% of carries, 7 in total. He did have 1 rushing touchdown. So a decent game from him overall. At the running back position, we saw Garrett Groshek get 55% of snaps. Madre London had 45. 5 carries in total for Garrett Groshek, 33% of the total carries, only 1 for Madre London for 7%. London did not receive a target, but Garrett Groshek did for 3% target share. Dwayne Gary was inactive once again in week number 4. Mason Stokey, the fullback, tight end hybrid, 57% of snaps, no carries, but did have 2 targets for a 6% carry share. For the wide receiver position, we did see the return of Troy Walker. Bailey Gaither did play 82% snaps. He had a 30% target share with 10 total targets. Trey Walker in his return played 61% of snaps and 18% target share and 6 total targets. And then Isaiah Heaney played 92% of snaps, a 21% target share with 7 targets, and he did have 2 carries on the ground for a 13% carry share as well. So those top 3 wide receivers pretty set in stone at this point in time. CJ Turner was inactive for week number 4, but he'll be active for week 5. Josh Simmons also played 49% of snaps, 12% target share with 4 targets. Hunter Rison was inactive for week 4. And then they had both 2 main tight ends active this week, or for week 4, I should say. Artavius Lynn played 27.5% of snaps. He had 1 target for a 3% target share. And then Matt Seibert, played 31% of snaps, 2 targets for a 6% target share. So once we're looking at Pittsburgh again, you could probably play a little bit of Troy Williams and GPPs, mainly looking at those top 3 wide receivers for them otherwise. And then last but not least, for the Philadelphia Stars, we had Case Cookus. He played 98% of snaps, 97% of pass attempts. He had 36 in total, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 carries on the ground for an 18% carry share. Did get a little bit banged up once again in this week. He's been dealing with quite a few injuries at this point in time, but looks like he should be good to go. There was a video on Twitter of him joking around trying to play cornerback and stuff like that. So I don't think his knee and everything's bothering him too much at this point in time. I think it was a wrist or a hand injury maybe last week, but Kevin Thompson stepped in for 2% of snaps, had 3% of pass attempts, 1 in total, but did not have a single touchdown or interception. Obviously did not run the ball either. Then for the running back position, Matthew Colburn played 59% of snaps, 55% of carries. He had 6 in total. He had 1 rushing touchdown, 4 targets out of the backfield for 11% target share. So still a viable option in GPPs there. Dexter Williams, 39% of snaps, 27% of carries with only 3 in total. 3 targets out of the backfield for an 8% target share and did have 1 receiving touchdown, but not too much upside with him at this point in time. Then we move down to the wide receiver position. Devin Gray played 98% of snaps, had a 32% target share with 12 total targets. Kind of going back and forth with him and Corey Coleman this year, it seems like. And then Corey Coleman, 87% of snaps, 11% target share with only 4 targets. Jordan Sewell kind of made his return. We'll talk a little bit more about why in a minute, though. He played 72% of snaps, a 14% target share with 5 total targets. Then we got DeAndre Overton playing 83% of snaps, 4 targets for 11% target share. And then we get down to Chris Rowland, 26% of snaps, 8% target share with 3 total targets. He did get injured in this game, and he is unfortunately done for the year. He's been placed on IR. So that's kind of a big reason why Jordan Sewell got some extra run as well. Then Samuel Akeem got 9% of snaps, 1 target for a 3% target share. Carrick Weefall and Terry Wright were both inactive once again. And then Pro Wells, 20% of snaps, 1 target for a 3% target share. And then Ryan Izzo, 6% of snaps and 0 targets once again. And then Lawrence Delabata was inactive for week number 4. So no real changes for Philadelphia. Obviously, losing Chris Rowland will open up some playing time for some other guys, but just kind of taking some shots here and there. But Case Cook has not been the greatest at this point in time. Obviously, he's dealing with quite a few injuries as well. But with that being said, that's kind of the recap for week number 4. We're going to stop sharing this screen, go over to my sheet for week number 5. If you guys are interested in this a little bit more, it is up on my Patreon, small monthly donation over there, $1.25 a month essentially, or $1.25 a week, essentially $5 a month. You'll get access to this. You get access to the USFL DFS sheet that I do put together in terms of, target share, carry share, everything that is listed in the notes as well. And then I do update this sheet as the week moves along as we get more information. So we're going to start with the Birmingham Stallions. I got Alex McGooey. He's $11,600. He's still very much a GPP play. He does have that high end upside, especially with his rushing ability on any given week. So definitely do like him there. Not necessarily a cash game play. If you want to play CJ Maribel or Zaquandre White in GPPs, you could go ahead and do that. I think they're both equally a little bit too expensive for their production, but in GPPs, if you want to get a little bit different, that definitely does make some sense. Ricky Pearson likely inactive once again this week, who did sign last week. And then we got news at wide receiver that Michael Darius is probably going to be inactive once again. But the big news this week, so I have that mistyped on the wrong line. So Deion Kane is going to be out this week. He's dealing with an illness, so he's on the inactive list. So there should be more opportunities being presenting themselves for this Birmingham Stallion team, whether it's a Jay Sternberger, whether it's Adrian Hardy, whether it's Austin Watkins, whether it's Myron Mitchell, or whether it's even Josh Johnson, who, hasn't been with the team for too long. If I had to guess, I'd take some shots on Adrian Hardy. I'd take some shots on, Austin Watkins. Davion Davis has been pretty solid so far. Jay Sternberger has been pretty solid so far. So if you want to play Davis and GPP, you can definitely do it. His price tag's all the way up to $9,100. Jay Sternberger at 87, still very much a GPP option. But, kind of the pay down options of Hardy and Watkins are very interesting. Obviously, unfortunately, since Myron Mitchell was inactive last week, DraftKings does not have him as an available option. Then the Stallions are going against the Houston Gamblers this week, $4,600. Very much a GPP defense, especially with Terry Wilson started as opposed to Kenji Bahar. Probably should be a little bit more run focused game. Unfortunately for Birmingham, they did put Scooby Wright on the injured reserve list at this point in time, so that should impact their defense a little bit. He's their, their key captain, their main linebacker on that defense overall. As I did mention, Kenji Bahar did deal with an injury last week. He's going to be inactive this week, so it looks like Terry Wilson should get the start. If you want to roll him out at $6,000 as a GPP paydown option, definitely gives you some rushing upside. Not sure how much he's going to give you otherwise, but going to be a really interesting option. Probably going to be a pretty popular option at that $6,000 price range. Montel Cozart was activated from the inactive list to be the backup for this week. And then we see Mark Thompson at $10,200 GPP option for me. Pledger was inactive last week, but he is back this week. So we'll see what that split looks like with both them supposedly healthy at the same time. Shamari Jones was placed on the inactive list. And then for wide receiver, kind of the big move this week was Tyler Palka will be active for week 5 for the first time all season. Was a pretty productive slot receiver for them. So how does that affect Justin Hall? How does it affect these other wide receivers? And then you got Terry Wilson coming in at quarterback too. So not really sure how you want to play this out. Hall would be the main one I would play, like in some GPPs. If you want to take a shot on somebody else, you could do that. Isaiah Zuber, like I already mentioned, played cornerback last week, so probably not too interested in him. Josh Peterson, if you want to throw a dart on him at $2,700, you can definitely do that once again as well. For their defense going against Birmingham, not too interested there at this point in time. Houston does have a decent defense, but Birmingham is still a little bit of a tougher matchup. For the Memphis Showboats, Cole Kelly at $9,100 is a GPP option. There is some passing volume to this offense. If he's going to run like he's done a little bit this year, he gets a little extra upside as well. For the running back position, mainly would be interesting Kareth White as a cash game option at $4,900. If you want to take a stab on Jawan Washington at the flat minimum, you can do that as well. For the wide receivers, mainly interested in Derek Dillon this week's GPP paydown option. You could probably roll him out in cash as well as a cash game filler for $3,600. John Mitchell did get the tight end designation this week, so he's only $2,500. You've seen them try to use him at times, but not playing enough snaps for me personally. Vinny Papali, maybe in GPPs, you could roll out at $5,500, but that's pretty much where I'm going to be at. They did sign Ezra Gray and they did sign Cheyenne O'Grady this week. Both are expected to be inactive. Cheyenne O'Grady was the lead tight end for their team last year, so we'll see what type of role he warrants in the future. Ezra Gray was recently cut by the Breakers. For their defense, going against New Orleans, not really interested in there at this point in time since New Orleans has been the best team so far to start the season. Then we move down to the Michigan Panthers, not really interested in this quarterback, 50-50 split almost at this point in time. Carson Strong, Josh Love, neither one has been great at this point. For the running backs, Reggie Corbin's $9,400. Stevie Scott's $7,100. Both you can roll on GPPs. Obviously, it's going to be like any given week for those two guys, but Corbin does have the little bit higher upside since he has been involved in the passing game out of the backfield as well. Like I said, EJ Richardson was listed as the third running back on their depth chart this week, so that's a little bit interesting. Probably not going to play a big role either way, though. And then Joe Walker, I consider a cash game since he's been dominating target share. You can use Trey Quinn as a GPP paydown option. Ishmael Hyman you could throw out in GPPs if you really want to do so as well. It looks like Wap Filer is inactive. They did sign Caden Davis this week. He is inactive as well. Hikitini is supposed to be back this week, and Mark Way is inactive. If you want to roll out their defense against Pittsburgh, I don't really have too big of a problem against their, kind of a GPP option in general. Not sure why I didn't type that down, but, Pittsburgh's looking a little bit better on offense with Troy Williams with some of the stuff they've been doing a little bit as of late, but still not the greatest play calling in the world. So kind of like that Michigan Panthers defense. They're not a bad defense by any means as well. When we move down to the generals, DeAndre Johnson, you can obviously throw him out in GPPs. He's $8,600. There is some cash game viability there if you really want to play him there as well. Both running backs GPP options for me in general. Trey Williams only $6,500, so some pretty decent upside there as well. Moving down to the wide receiver position, not super interested in these guys. Satterfield will be the guy to take a shot on since he played 100% of snaps last week. He's the flat 3K, so if you really want to pay down option, you can go with him. Echoes Looper's been the most productive so far, but $7,500, a little bit banged up. Not too interested in him at this point in time. Their defense, going against Philadelphia, you think it wouldn't be the greatest matchup in the world, but I do like them in GPPs, kind of contrarian play if you need to go there since Philadelphia has not been quite as good this year. And then Cookus is obviously dealing with some injuries. For the breakers, McCoy, Bethel Thompson, cash game play, GPP, you can roll him out in either one at $11,000. He's a little bit more expensive, though. Wes Hillis, the running back's cash game option at $10,600. He's been extremely good as of late, but 8 touchdowns in 3 weeks. Not too much else you have to say there. Pretty much has the backfield to himself. For the wide receiver position, a lot of news is going to come down to whether or not Johnny Dixon plays or not. Do like D. Anderson, do like Jonathan Adams, pay down option with Lee Morris. Obviously, say Surratt's going to be a GPP option as well. And then their defense, GPP option against Memphis. Maybe you could roll them out in cash since they are a pretty good defense. Memphis has kind of been hit or miss on offense so far to start the season. For the Pittsburgh Maulers, though, Troy Williams, if you want to roll him out, $8,400, has a little bit of rushing upside. He's been throwing the ball a little bit more last week, so there is some upside to be had there. Obviously, we'll see what it looks like this week. Not really interested in the running backs in Groshek and London. Neither one doing too much at this point in time. When we look at Trey Walker, Bailey Gaither, both GPP options, probably more people are going to play Gaither this week. If you want to play Isaiah Heaney as a GPP option, you could probably do it as well. Artavius Lynn is going to be inactive this week. They did say CJ Turner will be active for this game, so we'll just have to see how that all plays out. Do like the Pittsburgh Maulers as a cash game play on defense this week going against Michigan, who's kind of still trying to figure out their identity overall in their quarterback situation, so definitely does make some sense there. If you want to roll out Case Cook, it's probably going to be one of his lowest ownership weeks on the season. So GPP option at $10,600 at running back. If you're rolling out either one, probably going to be Colburn as a GPP option, but they're really not running the ball enough and not using the backs enough out of the backfield for him to be completely viable. Devin Gray, GPP option, and Corey Coleman, both those guys are going to be GPP. They're kind of going back and forth, kind of like Gray and Sewell went back and forth last season. DeAndre Overton as a GPP paydown option makes a lot of sense without Chris Rowland in the lineup. Sewell, if you really want to take a shot there at 8,000, you could as a contrarian play. And then really, not really interested in any of these other wide receivers. They haven't used the tight ends too much this season, and their defense has really just not been that great. So don't really have too much other interest in Philadelphia, but that's kind of my thoughts in general for this week in terms of like playing guys in GPP, pay down options, cash game options, everything else like that. I'm going to bring up DraftKings. We'll talk about kind of my general strategy for the week, whether or not I will be overweight to the field, underweight to the field on certain guys. So let me get this brought up here real quick on DraftKings, and then I will share it on the screen. So give me a minute as my computer is loading rather slowly at this point in time. So we'll stop sharing that. We'll start sharing this. If anybody does have any questions in general for the week for USFL, feel free to drop them in the comments if you're watching live, or in the live chat if you're watching live. Drop them down in the comments if you are watching on a replay, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. We'll try to have all the inactives listed down in the comments too throughout the weekend as they do get announced. Do try to share that all on my Twitter as well, retweeting all that news when it does become available. So now we are at the DraftKings once again. Alex Magoo, I might be a little bit overweight to the field on just this week, just because I think people are going to be a little bit down on him after last week. Going against Houston, it's a decent defense, but still like Magoo, still like stacking him with like Davion Davis. Probably going to get a couple lines with Adrian Hardy this week, just with no Deion Kane. Then McCoy, Bethel Thompson probably be about even with the field, if we're being honest. I like him with D. Anderson. I like him with Sage Surratt. I like him with Jonathan Adams. Obviously, we need some of that Johnny Dixon news. Kind of unfortunate if Johnny Dixon does end up playing, coming off that injury, that he will not be on the slate since he was inactive last week. Not sure why DraftKings is doing that, but it's just kind of the way it is at this point in time. Case Cookus, maybe if you want to play an ownership play this week, you could roll them out there. Probably be doing it with Corey Coleman, Devin Gray, and DeAndre Overton. Myself personally would be the three that I would be targeting. Cole Kelly with Derek Dillon does make some sense there. Probably be in line with the field, maybe slightly underweight to Cole Kelly. Just kind of depends on where people come in after his 2 rushing touchdown performance last week, which is not something I would expect again out of Cole Kelly. Josh Love, not going to have any ownership of. DeAndre Johnson will have some ownership of going against Philadelphia. It's a pretty good matchup. Does have some pretty good upside as well. Probably just running him out there blind most of the time, but if you want to stack him with like a Randy Satterfield or somebody else, could make some sense. Maybe even with Trey Williams. Troy Williams, I do like his upside this week. I like a little bit of Trey Walker. I like a little bit of Isaiah Heaney. I think more people are going to be on Bailey Gaither after last week. And then as we keep moving down, we get to the Houston quarterback situation. I'll play a little bit of Terry Wilson. I'm probably going to be underweight to the field. It really just depends on how it comes in at with his rushing ability. If I'm playing him, maybe with some Justin Hall, maybe with some of these other wide receivers, but he might just be a naked play, honestly, this week with his rushing ability. I'm not sure exactly who I want to target from that wide receiver position for Houston. Probably going to come down to more of an ownership play than anything. Running back, Wes Hillis, probably going to be one of the most chalky players on the entire slate. Don't have to say too much about that. He's definitely warranted it at this point in time. Probably going to be underweight to the field on Mark Thompson after the big week last week. Might be a little bit of overweight to the field on Darius Victor. Do like his upside. Corbin's probably going to be in line with the field. Maybe a couple extra shares of Matthew Colburn. Maribel probably going to be underweight to the field on. Jones not playing at all. Stevie Scott maybe a little bit overweight to the field on, but it is a tough matchup against Pittsburgh. Trey Williams, I think I'm going to be overweight to the field on. I do like this matchup. I like some of the upside that he could present in general. Zaquandre Wright probably going to be underweight to the field. Kareth White I'll be overweight to the field on. That's probably about it. I might throw a share or two of Jawan Washington in there here and there, but mainly at the running back position, we're going after Wes Hillis, going after Darius Victor, a little bit of Corbin, maybe a little bit of Colburn, some Stevie Scott, some good amount of Trey Williams probably this week, and then Kareth White. Kareth White would be pretty interesting to me as well. At the wide receiver position, be about it even with the field on Corey Coleman, probably overweight to the field on Sage Surratt if Johnny Dixon doesn't play. Maybe a little bit overweight to the field on Jonathan Adams if Dixon doesn't play as well, but I think a lot of people would probably flock to him. Probably try to be overweight to the field on Davion Davis once again because he's just been really good so far, even though the price tag has gone up quite a bit. Devin Gray, be even with the field, probably maybe slightly overweight to the field. Jay Sternberger, I think, is a decent contrarian play this week at $8,700 with no Deion Kane. Could have a nice little bounce back week. Ownership might be a little bit suppressed after last week. Joe Walker, going to have a good amount of ownership too. Once again, Alonzo Moore, probably not touching at his price tag. Trey Walker, I'll have some interest in. Same thing with Bailey Gaither, but I'll probably be underweight to the field on Gaither, overweight to the field on Walker. A little bit of Jordan Sewell here and there, maybe a little bit of Cam Eccles-Looper here and there, but really need that injury update at this point in time. A little bit of Justin Hall. Last week wasn't the greatest for him, but maybe on the bounce back could be suppressed ownership as well. Isaiah Heaney probably be overweight to the field on. Maybe Ishmael Hyman as kind of a punt play here or there, contrarian play. Maybe a little bit of Vinny Papali here. I'll be overweight to the field on D. Anderson. I'll be overweight to the field on Overtone. Probably be even with the field on Lee Morris. Overweight to the field on Austin Watkins. Overweight to the field on Derek Dillon. Probably in line with the field on Tree Quinn. Let's see who else stands out here. And then Adrian Hardy, I'll be overweight to the field on. I know that at this point in time, but that's kind of where I'm at for wide receivers. For defenses, I'll play some of the breakers. I'll probably play some of the Stallions too. Against Terry Wilson does make some sense there. Generals, I'll have a little bit of Pittsburgh. I'll have a little bit of Maulers. Will probably be my main defense this week since they are the third cheapest, and I do like their matchup against Michigan just in general. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of USFL DFS for week number 5. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed this. Hopefully you found it somewhat informative. Hopefully it helps you along your process. If you are brand new to USFL DFS, you haven't already signed up over at runthesims.com, use promo code COACH. You'll save $10. They have a DIY optimizer where you can plug and play some of the stats that I do, like myself personally. If you're interested in the Patreon, once again, patreon.com/Coach Craig Sports. Small monthly donation over there. You get all the stats. You can kind of average everything out. Plug and play, optimize it, do your own kind of projections, save your CSV, upload it over to the classic optimizer and run it from there. Or if you want to just go with their projections and then kind of run it from there and tinker here and there for it with their optimizer, you can do that as well. But if you sign up using promo code COACH, you'll save 10% over there. So definitely a good thing to do. XFL is in the championship game. So if you want to use the optimizer for that as well, it's all in the spring football package as well. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have at this point in time. If you guys do have any additional questions, whether you're watching live or on replay, leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Once again, the inactives will be down there throughout the weekend as well. But definitely do appreciate everyone checking it out. If you are a part of the Patreon and checking out my sheet on the weekly basis, it will be up there, a little bit later today. But I'll update that throughout the night, throughout the inactives and everything else like that over the weekend. So definitely do appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day to check out. If you're checking out my channel for the very first time, you enjoy this content that I am putting out, feel free to subscribe. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Mainly MLB DFS and USFL DFS at this point in time. Obviously, some other sports throughout the rest of the year. Excuse me. So definitely be sure to check those out if you're into DFS as much as I am. Definitely, hopefully that's the case. But definitely do appreciate everyone that did take the time out of their day to check this out, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely does mean a lot to me, and I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in USFL DFS this weekend.